back, besties! I'm Lexi, and this week we're going to be reading dark romances. Now this is actually a part 2, if you will, of a video that I posted last year in June where I read 3 dark romances. I don't remember what those dark romances that I read last year, but we are here to try it again. I have lately been about giving authors or genres that I thought I previously disliked a second chance. And dark romances is one of those genres where either hits or it is a complete fail. Some of my least favorite dark romances would have to be the Born Darkly books. I've only read the first one. And then Sick Fucks by Tilly Cole. Absolutely hated that. That was 1 star. But I've had some successes with dark romances such as Mindfuck, which I read last year and I gave that 5 stars. And also Still Beating a Lotus, which are both written by Jennifer Hartman. Those 2 are some of my favorite dark romances of all time. So here we are to try some more dark romances. I've kind of curated my TBR for what I want to do. So the first book I want to read is Leather and Lark, and this is the sequel to Butcher and Blackbird. Butcher and Blackbird is a book that I read in November of last year. I did not vlog it, unfortunately. In November of last year I was having some health issues, so I took a break from YouTube, but I really want to get to this one. It's been out and released for quite some time now. I know that we are following Lark, who is Blackbird's best friend, and then Leather is Butcher's brother in the previous book. I really don't know what the plot of this is going to be. I'm just going off of it's a sequel to Butcher and Blackbird, which I liked, and I give that 4 stars. So hopefully this is another witty, funny, dark romance. And then the next book I want to read is Verity by Colleen Hoover. Now you might be asking yourself, is that really a dark romance? It's more like a thriller, suspenseful story. And honestly, I think that it is a dark romance because what I've heard about this book is that it is mainly about this author named Lowen and Jeremy. I think that's his name. Jeremy is Verity's husband, but Verity got into a car accident, I believe, quite a while ago, and she is disabled. She's not able to move. Verity is a very popular writer, and Jeremy enlists Lowen's help to finish Verity's popular series that she's currently writing, or left unwritten now that she is disabled. And I'm classifying this as dark romance, and it's not just me, Goodreads is doing it too, because of the dark, fucked up things that happen with Verity, and then also it is kind of like a love story between Jeremy and Lowen. I know that it looks like I've already read this book due to like all the sticky tabs on here, but I actually bought this off Pango, and the seller did say that they were going to have some sticky tabs and some highlighting or writing in the books. That's completely fine with me because I have never read a Miss Coho book, and I have heard very mixed things about Colleen Hoover. Either you love her or you hate her, and because I'm a very critical reader, I feel like I'm going to fall into the hater camp. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. I'm a hater to my core. And then the last book I'm going to read, and this is my If All Else Fails book, is The Stars Are on Our Side. Now this is book 3 in the Still Beating Lotus series, if you will. I don't think that Jennifer Hartman is counting them as a series, but there are 3 interconnected books. Still Beating, if you know or if you've read the book, is following Dean and Cora, and they were kidnapped by the serial killer called the Matchmaker, and Cora and Dean end up falling in love. And then the characters from Lotus, Sydney and Oliver, are briefly mentioned in Still Beating. And Lotus is following Oliver's escape from being held captive for 22 years, but then also his love story with Sydney, the girl next door, the one that he's been pining over for his entire life. And then this book is following Oliver's brother Gabe and Tabitha, and Tabitha is the only person that the Matchmaker killer willingly has let go. So this is their love story. I did see that this was independently published by Jennifer Hartman and that there is an audiobook available for it. Unfortunately, the audiobook is like almost $20 and I will not be spending that much. And it's also not available on Libby or Everand. It's only available on Audible. I even checked Spotify to see if it was on Spotify because I would definitely listen to the audiobook if it was, and it's not. So this is one that I will actually need to read with my eyeballs, very unfortunately. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get started with Leather and Lark, because that one is just calling to me, speaking to me. And this is a newly released book and I want to jump on it before anything gets spoiled for me. And then I might go with Verity, and definitely I will save The Stars on Our Side for the last book, because I feel like if anything, I'm probably going to enjoy that book. Jennifer Hartman has not led me astray yet. So let's get started and I will check up with you once I am done with Leather and Lark, probably tomorrow, because I do have the audiobook for this and that's gonna go by very fast for me. So I'll check in with you guys probably tomorrow. Okay friends, I lied to you guys last night because I actually did not read Leather and Lark first. I read Verity. And I have to say, after reading my first Coho book, I don't think that I'm interested in reading any more Colleen Hoover. This book was so bad that I gave it 1 star. And here's the point in the video where I give you the entire plot synopsis of this book. If you're interested in reading Verity, you might want to cut out now. So we start off meeting Lowen. She is a struggling writer. She's also very broke, which I guess is the very definition of struggling writer. And she meets this guy named Jeremy very randomly. They kind of hit it off and she could tell that she really likes him, but she's like, I will never see this man ever again. And then her publisher asks her to come into the office because they have a potential deal for her to write books from a very well-known, accomplished author, Verity, because Verity got into a car accident a while ago and she is comatose. So her publisher is like, we can offer you this deal where you finish writing Verity's extremely popular book series and kind of like be the ghostwriter. And when she's in the meeting with the publisher, Verity's husband, Jeremy, the same guy that Lowen just met earlier, is like, yeah, I kind of tracked you down because I really like your writing and I want you to finish writing my wife's books, which is kind of giving red flags right away because I'm like, why would you randomly run into her randomly and then ask her to finish writing the books? Because it's giving stalker vibes. So Lowen's like, yeah, I'm broke, let's go ahead and do that. And she also like respects Verity as an author, so she's like, yeah, let me go ahead and do that. So she goes over to Jeremy's house because Verity has an entire outline of what she wants the rest of the book series to be. And she's in Verity's office when she finds Verity's autobiography that she wrote. And the other thing I need you to know that Verity is comatose and she has like a live-in nurse that comes and takes care of her now and again. And right off the bat, Lowen is like, I don't believe that bitch is comatose at all. But she starts reading Verity's autobiography and there are some things about Miss Verity that I'm just like, she's a psychopath. Because what we learn about Jeremy and Verity is that they met, I think it was like at a bar, and immediately they had this sexual attraction. And immediately Verity's like, I'm obsessed with this man. That's the thing that you need to know is that both Verity and Lowen become obsessed with Jeremy. For what reason, I cannot tell you because he seems like a basic ass white man to me. But she is obsessed with having sex with her husband. And Verity feels like if she ain't getting it, then her husband doesn't like her. But the thing that happens is that she becomes pregnant and she's like, oh my God, I'm gonna give these children to Jeremy. He's gonna love me even more. But then she realizes that Jeremy might actually love the baby more than he loves her. And she immediately gets jealous of 2 unborn babies currently in her uterus. And I just want to give you a trigger warning because if you don't want to hear this about pregnancies, skip it and move to the next timestamp. But Verity gets so jealous over these unborn babies that she tries to abort the babies herself with a hanger, and she purposely is like drinking alcohol and eating foods that she knows are bad for babies because she's like, I don't want these kids anymore. Or fortunately for Jeremy, the babies do survive and she does give birth to them, and she names it Harper and Chasten. And as a mother, she is a terrible mother because she tries to kill one of the babies. Like, Verity is a complete psychopath. And this is something that Verity wrote in her autobiography that Lowen is in present day reading, and she's like, this bitch is awful, which she is awful. So then Lowen doesn't really feel bad when she starts sleeping with Jeremy because for some reason both these women want to jump on this man's dick. So she feels no remorse whatsoever. And I will say the one thing that's so cringy about Lowen and Jeremy having sex is that there's this headboard that Verity, when she was having sex with Jeremy, she would like bite down on the headboard, and Lowen's like, I'm gonna be better than her. I'm gonna bite down on this headboard even harder. I'm gonna leave even more indents on this headboard. So it's just, it feels like she's competing with a comatose woman. And then what we also find out is that Verity becomes obsessed with one of the twin girls that I believe is Chasten. She's like, Chasten's so much better. Chasten, we love her so much. She's like, Harper, we can fuck Harper. Harper's awful. And then one day Chasten has an allergic reaction to some food. I don't remember what it is. She suffocates and she passes away. Verity cannot get over it. She's like, I know that Harper killed Chasten, but there's no evidence or proof. But Verity just takes it upon herself to treat Harper so awful and so mean. And this is where their marriage kind of starts to like fall apart because Verity is just out for revenge. At this point, she's also given birth to a 3rd child. His name is Crew, and she definitely has like this boy mom vibes that I'm not like loving. And so one day Verity takes both Harper and Crew out on a canoe, and she purposely tips over the canoe and saves Crew and then lets Harper drown. So technically she killed her kid, but Jeremy like doesn't blink an eye. He's like, it's fine, it's fine. And then shortly after, Verity gets into a car accident like I told you before, and she becomes comatose. Eventually she gets better and she's actually not comatose. She really commits to the act and continues to pretend that she is unable to move, that she's non-functioning, because she in her brain, she's like, I'm gonna test Jeremy test his love for me. And obviously that's not working very well for her because Lowen and Jeremy are just fucking all over the house. They just like keep having sex everywhere when Verity's literally upstairs. And when we find out that this bitch is not comatose, let me tell you, Lowen's like, oh no, because Lowen has had suspicions all along because she's like, the nurse is treating me weird, things are going missing or misplaced around the house. She's like, I don't think that Verity is actually comatose. So Lowen decides to give the autobiography that Verity has written over to Jeremy so that Jeremy knows how awful and evil his wife is. And Jeremy like flies into a rage and he starts to like strangle her or choke her. And Lowen's like, we can't do it like that. Like if she dies by strangulation, they're gonna know that you killed her. Why don't we fake her death and actually kill her? And then you and I can run off into the sunset together. So that is what they do. They literally kill Verity. They sell the house. And at this point, Lowen is pregnant. So Jeremy, he just got a whole do-over at life. He got a new wife. He got some kid coming on his way. This book literally makes no sense, especially at the very end. I think maybe it's like in the epilogue where when they're moving out of the house, Lowen finds a letter that Verity wrote saying that that autobiography that I wrote, which paints me in a really bad light, is actually creative writing that I did. I wanted to paint myself as the villain, but let me just tell you that everything I wrote in the autobiography is not true. And I'm actually a wonderful, kind, nice person. And then Lowen's like, don't know which is real, but let's never tell Jeremy because that man is mine. She's in her ass. She's like, the boy is mine, Verity. And so they run off onto the sunset. I guess what Colleen Hoover wanted to take away from this novel is that because it's a thriller, she wanted readers to decide whether the autobiography is real or if the letter is real. And I'm gonna have to tell you, I frankly don't care because Verity is so awful and there is so much sex in this book, even though I know in the plot synopsis I didn't discuss it that much, but there's so much sex in this book. This is just Lowen being horny for Jeremy, even though he's married, and this is Verity being a complete psychopath. Like, Verity, kindly, politely, with neutrality, why the fuck would you write the autobiography to begin with? Anyway, like I mentioned before, this is a 1-star book for me. The likelihood of me picking up another Coho book is very, very low. I will actually be selling this copy on my Pango shop. Link to that is below. I will say that when I bought this book, it did already have like sticky tabs and writing in it. So if you want to buy this book off of my Pango shop, just know that this book is not in pristine condition. I mean, outwardly it is in nice condition, but there's, you know, stuff inside. But if you want this book, go take a look at my Pango shop. Anyway, let's actually read Leather and Lark next because I feel like I'm gonna have more luck with this book already knowing that I like Butcher and Blackbird. So I have high hopes for Leather and Lark. I also do have high hopes for The Stars Are on Our Side. So I will probably check in with you guys tomorrow once I actually finish Leather and Lark. I swear that is the next book that I'm gonna pick up, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay, friends, I need to apologize to you guys once again because I did say in that last clip that I was gonna read Leather and Lark, but I actually did not do that. Verity put me into such a funk that I need to pick up something that I feel like I was actually going to really like. So I decided to read The Stars Are on Our Side. And this is one that I needed to read with my actual eyeballs like a peasant because the audiobook is $20 on Audible and I will not be paying that much for an audiobook. Not now, not ever. And I'm so glad to say that I really like this. I'm giving it 4 stars. Jennifer Hartman has not led me astray. I'm so shocked because it's really hard for me to like books in general, but dark romance, that's a whole nother beast. So what is this book about? I mentioned in the intro that this is the 3rd installment in the Still Beating Lotus kind of trilogy. In the very beginning of this book, Jennifer Hartman does say that she never intended to write this book, and this one is just truly for the fans because the fans really love Still Beating Lotus that she decided to give this one to us. I'm so glad that she did. So we're following Gabe and Tabitha. Tabitha is another one of the matchmaker's victims. So the matchmaker is a serial killer that kidnaps 2 people and then forces them into a basement and forces them to fall in love with each other through some traumatic circumstances. There is a lot of R word and SA in this book, so if this is something that you can't handle, then maybe this book is not for you. So Tabitha is kidnapped when she is in college, and she is kidnapped with one of her professors. His name is Matthew. So this book flashes back and forth between when Tabitha and Matthew were kidnapped and then the present day between her and Gabe. So in the past, we're exploring Tabitha's journey or, you know, experience with the matchmaker and her falling in love with Matthew. But in the present day, Tabitha is struggling with the PTSD of having to go through this experience. And she does say that she doesn't have great health insurance, so she cannot go to seek therapy as much as that she wants to, but there is this writer or journalist that has offered to write her story as one of the matchmaker's victims. And she kind of uses that as her own like type of therapy to kind of explore, because she hasn't really like looked back in a time when she was a victim of the matchmaker serial killer, because she wants to heal, she wants to grow, she wants to move past this, and she wants to get better, because what she's realized is that in order for her to move forward with Gabe, she has to tackle her inner demons. And then we have Gabe, who is Oliver's brother. So Oliver made an appearance in Lotus where he was kidnapped, or he went missing for 22 years, but then was like found alive. And so Gabe is Oliver's half-brother, stepbrother. Not quite sure, I don't remember. But Gabe has always kind of been like a player. But then when he meets Tabitha, he just knows immediately that he like loves her. It's a little bit, it's still lovey, but they do go through some trials and tribulations. I really like this book. I'm giving it 4 stars. I don't think that I like it as much as Still Beating. Still Beating is like 5 stars. Lotus I also gave 4 stars. I think my problem that I had with this book is that I really wanted Tabitha to actually go to therapy. And then my other problem is that I didn't enjoy Gabe's story, because he has a little bit of something that he's trying to overcome that happened in Lotus that he's trying to overcome that's now like bleeding over into this book. I didn't really like his storyline all that much. And then Tabitha is kind of like well known because she is the only victim of the matchmaker that he willingly let go. But then we also have Cora and Dean, who actually escaped the matchmaker killer. So like parts of this book was also them like coming to learn their own voices as survivors now. And I will say there were some Facebook Live scenes that made me kind of want to cringe. And then the last 100 pages of this book, I was like, I don't know if I really like the way that wrapped up. But generally, overall, I really do love this book. And for a book that has such dark themes, I don't think it was overly graphic. I think Still Beating, it was far more graphic than this one. And I'm so glad that I like this book, because I did buy a special edition copy of The Stars Are on Our Side. So this is like the independently published version, and this is the special edition. So the special edition has a different cover, and it is Simon's Side. However, it is paperback, which I don't necessarily love. I really wish that they had done a special edition like they did for Still Beating and Lotus, and I can grab those off the shelf. So this is a special edition for Lotus, and it is hardcover, and it does have sprayed edges, and this is the Mystic Box edition. And this is the special edition of Lotus, and again, it is sprayed edges or like foiled gold edges, and I believe that both of these are signed. And then I also have the paperback editions of Still Beating and Lotus up on my shelf, but I do wish that they had made this a hardcover. Maybe that they will. So 4 stars for The Stars Are on Our Side. I do have 2 more Jennifer Hartman books on my bookshelf. So I have Older, which I think is like an age gap romance, and I have Catch the Sun, which I think is a YA dark romance. They're both dark romances. It was really refreshing to read The Stars Are on Our Side physically, because I didn't realize that I could read that fast. I mean, I was keeping track and I could read like 150 pages within like maybe like 3 hours. So maybe I should do some more physical reading. I mean, I will not be willingly be doing that because I am an audiobook girly, but the next time I want to pick up a book and there's no audiobook, I won't be afraid of that. So I will check in with you guys maybe tomorrow once I am done with Leather and Lark. I finished reading Leather and Lark last night, and unfortunately what I thought was gonna happen has happened. Did not really like this book. I think I'm gonna give it maybe 2 stars, maybe 3 stars, I'm unsure. So we are following Lark, who is Blackbird's best friend, and we are following Leather, who is Butcher's older brother. And we met them in the first book, but right away the author didn't remind us in the beginning of this book how we knew Lark and Leather. Like we just kind of had to like piece it together. Where normally like authors in like a sequel kind of like give you a rough summary of what happened in the previous book within like the first couple of chapters. So when I was reading, I was like, are we supposed to know who these people are? Because I read Butcher and Blackbird last year in November, so I kind of have already forgotten a bit what happened in this book. But to start off, the very beginning, I had high hopes because Lark has, like, I want to say kidnapped her now ex-boyfriend because he cheated on her, and she strapped fireworks to his man area and she kills him. I mean, deserved. He's a cheater. She just belonging to hell. But then everything kind of fell apart from there because Lark has become a serial killer, where in the previous book we weren't giving any indication that she had serial killer tendencies. So it just felt very shoehorned in here because the serial killer aspect in Butcher and Blackbird was very popular. Like very much Lark in the previous book is giving like manic pixie dream girl, like someone who needed to be protected, someone who was just like very soft and like very very demure, if I will. But she didn't come across like that in this book. It was just giving me a little bit of like whiplash, character inconsistency. So when she was in high school, it was a boarding school that she went to, and it was like a very abusive place, and she was SA there. And this is how like Sloane in the previous book became a serial killer, because she was like very out to protect Lark. So after the whole ex-boyfriend blowing up his dick thing, Lark is killing another person, but she needs to like get away, and she calls like a contract killer or someone who like could clean up the mess for her, and that's how she meets Leather. And they were just like both not in the right frame of mind that night, because he like puts her in the trunk when he's trying to like clean up the mess and get her away, but she's claustrophobic because of all the things that happened to her at this one grade school. And then that's kind of how they like don't get along. But when they meet officially for the first time at Butcher's restaurant, they immediately have feelings for each other, and they kiss on like a balcony, I think it was. And then they put the connections together. Oh, like, you're the person that put me in the trunk. Oh, you're the person that was being so mean to me that night when I was trying to like clean up your mess. And then they become enemies. It just didn't really make a lot of sense why she like would take it that far. But also, now that we're in the present day, Leather has gotten in trouble for bungling that job, and he works for like a contract like killer, like I want to say company, I guess, but it's kind of like on the down low. People from Lark's family has been like getting murdered. She doesn't know why, but for some reason, I don't really know why, but it was really contrived how Leather and Lark getting married to each other was supposed to protect her from getting murdered and help her solve why people in her family are getting murdered. It's really contrived, and it felt forced. It just didn't make a whole ton of sense. So it's like forced proximity or like forced marriage, but they're also trying to figure out who's killing off the people in Lark's family, because Lark's family is very wealthy and they own this like muffin business, or they have some top secret muffin recipe. Like I said, it's very contrived and very convoluted and very confusing. But the whole plot of this is figuring out who's murdering the people in her family, which I felt like would have been more suspenseful had we not been giving the killer's point of view in many chapters throughout the book. I just feel like Butcher and Blackbird made it kind of funny when like gross things were happening. For example, if you know what happened with the ice cream, the eyeballs in that book, then you would know that it's like very funny. And it just felt like the author was forcing it to be funny in this book when they would like do gross things, but it just like didn't make any sense. And it also just felt like Leather and Lark fell in love like out of nowhere because they were in this forced marriage. I don't know. I didn't really like it. And I just feel like the whole plot was given away because we already knew who the killer was. But then it also just felt shoehorned that the author wanted the story to be following two serial killers like Leather and Lark, where I just felt like Lark didn't need to be a serial killer in this book. It just didn't really make a whole ton of sense. I don't know. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm probably gonna give it more like 2 stars. I just didn't care for it, unfortunately. So here we are. I feel like I should have read Leather and Lark first, because I would have now been closing this video on a much more positive note, but unfortunately I'm kind of ending it on a downer. To wrap it all up for you, I started out by reading Verity by Colleen Hoover, which I have already spoiled this entire book for you, and it is a 1-star book. I didn't like a single character in this book. I didn't like the plot. I quite frankly don't care about autobiography versus letter. Who cares? Who cares? Colleen Hoover, I feel like, wants to give trauma porn with her books. And I don't want to start with the whole "it ends with us" discourse about the movie and the book and the whole drama that happened with it. But I just want to say that I feel like everything Colleen Hoover touches turns to ruin. So I will most likely not be picking up another one of her books unless you guys really, really beg for it. And after that, I read The Stars Are on Our Side, which I'm going to give 4 stars. I love this one so much. I just knew that I was probably going to like this because I love Still Beating and I love Lotus. Jennifer Hartman has not failed me so far. She might be one of my favorite authors of all time. But my thing is, I haven't read a book outside of this trilogy or this interconnected story between Still Beating, Lotus, and now The Stars Are on Side. And I do have 2 other books written by her, which is Older and Catch the Sun. If I like those, she might be one of my favorite authors of all time. Then finally, I read Leather and Lark. I just feel very unfortunate that this book turned out the way that it is. The 3rd book, which I've actually already pre-ordered off of Amazon. I don't know what the title of it is, but I will be trying that one. Maybe there will be a part 3 of this video of where I give dark romance a second chance. Because the only book that I ended up liking out of this entire experiment, was The Stars Are on Our Side, which I kind of knew that I was gonna like anyway. I will be selling Verity on my Pango shop. Link to that is down below. I'm gonna hang on to Leather and Lark for now, and I will read the third book when it comes out. If that one is good and I end up liking it, then it'll save the series for me. And obviously this one I'm definitely keeping. I mean, I have a special edition copy of this one. We love Jennifer Hartman in this house. So that is it. Thank you guys for watching. If you are thinking about reading any of these books, please let me know in the comments below. And also, if you made it to the end of this video, please leave the knife emoji in the comments so that I know that you made it to the end. Also, please like, subscribe, and I will see you in another video next week. Bye!